Good afternoon, everyone. So, this is horrific. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just before midday here. It's currently 5:25 in the PM. So, just before midday, the news broke that a 999 call had been made, so emergency services have been called to a street in the seaside town of Southport. Southport is just 18 miles away from where I live. So I've been watching Sky News on and off all afternoon, and I've gone live a few minutes earlier than anticipated because I've had Sky News on one device and the Ashley Bennyfield trial on another device. So I've been flicking between the two, and the judge has gone for lunch. So we've got about an hour before they all come back to court. So this case is so close to where I live. Southport is just 18 miles away. Actually, I think it's closer to 20 to go to the actual seaside, like the coast. But this location is 18 miles. So what went down was a member of the public called 999 because there's people screaming and just hell on earth had broken loose. So it quickly became clear to the news that a man brandishing a knife had been detained. So fortunately, this isn't a manhunt. That's very fortunate that a man has been detained and the weapon has been seized. What is absolutely shocking is that he targeted children. And there's at least 8 people have been stabbed, possibly more. Now, the man hasn't been named as far as I can see at the moment. The motive for this is currently unknown. So there's lots of speculation, like the news has been speculating. There's been different, quote unquote experts on, is this a terrorist attack? Is this, just a knife wielding maniac? Is it a mental health problem? But why target children? So before we get into the news, and there's lots of quotes. I mean, this is absolutely devastating. Southport it's quite a large town, right? Not many tourists these days. I mean, yeah, people do visit to go to the seaside. If you're local like me, this is the nearest seaside town to me. So if you want a day at the seaside, you'd go to Southport. You might go to Blackpool, but you'd probably go to Southport from here. So I know Southport very, very well. Very well. Before lockdown, I used to go to Southport often. And honestly, I've not been. I'm trying to work out the last time I actually went to the seaside, and it's probably before lockdown, which is bizarre. But anyway, I digress. Let me just make this a tad bigger and show you where we're talking. So this is Southport. So it's a large town on the coast. It's in the county of Merseyside. So I'm in Lancashire, but I'm on the border. So I'm actually close to I'm within a mile of the Greater Manchester border, but I'm also very close to the Merseyside border as well. So we've got a couple of new members here. Pamela, welcome. And Cookie Doodle, welcome. I think you've been a member before, Cookie Doodle. Anyway, welcome you both. Welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Oh, Tet, you live in Southport. Oh, wow. Yeah, Southport is like a seaside location. When I was a kid, we went to Blackpool. So many people I knew as kids went to Southport. It's totally shocking. Yeah. Was it in the nursery? Well, there's a little bit of confusion about where these children were actually targeted. So this is Hart Street. It's a mile or so away from the coast. So it's inland, and this is Hart Street. So it's just a normal town, normal street. And it seems to have happened on Hart Street. So the business that was targeted, well, according to Sky News, it was a pregnancy centre. But according to other news, this is The Guardian, it's at a children's dance studio. So it's on Hart Street, whether or not it's a dance studio or whether it's a pregnancy centre. I mean, it might be a children's centre and both the pregnancy centre and the dance studio are in the same building. That could be where the confusion has been. It's the Hart Centre. Yeah. So in the, what's this one? I think this is the Guardian. This is The Guardian. An hour ago, they were reporting. My colleague, Josh Halliday, is reporting from Southport. He has spoken to a resident whose aunt lives opposite and saw the incident unfold. She confirmed it was a Taylor Swift-inspired dance workshop, and it happened just as parents were arriving to collect their kids. Oh, breaking. Yeah, noisy on channels do that. A 17-year-old, 17, a minor, a child. And it's also been alleged that one of the victims has died. Now, I don't know if the police have confirmed that, but the news were reporting this afternoon that they believed that one of the victims had died. So a 17-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the stabbing. Merseyside police said, we can confirm that a 17-year-old male from Banks, which is on the outskirts of Southport, who was arrested in connection to the stabbing in Southport this morning, Monday, 29th of July, remains in police custody and will be questioned about the incident. At this early stage, inquiries are ongoing to establish the motive for this tragic incident, and we would urge people not to speculate whether the investigation is ongoing or while the investigation is ongoing. The force said it's not treating the attack as terror-related. Okay, so it's not a terror attack. So that can stop some speculation. You know, people were thinking, oh, this is some Islamic extremists now targeting children and blah, blah, blah. So they're not treating it as a terror attack. We can confirm the incident is not currently be treated as a terror-related, and we are not looking for anyone else in connection with the incident. Any updates will be provided to the public when available. I wasn't expecting that, honestly. I honestly wasn't expecting it to be a terror attack. It doesn't seem the style of an extremist group to do this. In my opinion, I mean, it could well turn out that it's some kind of, you know, in some way, loosely a terror attack. But if the police are not treating it as a terror attack, then I'm going to say it's not a terror attack until I hear otherwise. But for me, the feeling I had was this is some kind of mental health problem, and it's a dad who's been maybe lost custody or denied access to his child, and he's had a mental breakdown and he's just gone berserk. That was my feeling. That was where I was at. So the fact that they've arrested a minor, a 17-year-old boy, a boy who has done so much damage in an eye blink, in a very, very short space of time. Thank you, Jan. 4:30 a.m. in New Zealand. Wow. Thank you for the 10 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much. Literally the other side of the world. Literally. Do they hold parents responsible in the UK? Potentially, yeah. Potentially, yeah. You thought it was a father as well. Yeah. Adam Lanza was 17 when he attacked Sandy Hook. 17-year-old man. He's a boy. He's a minor. He's a minor. Not a man till you're 18. I mean, look, you know, the age of consent is 16, but for all intents and purposes, this is a boy. He can't vote. He can't drink legally. He's a boy. And this is just absolutely shocking. So let me just read you some of the devastation that this young man, I mean, obviously, constitutionally innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. However, if he was detained at the scene and the weapon was with him and there's no one else being looked for, I think we can conclude that this young man did it. Possibly a drug addict, but why attack children? Why attack children who were having a dance class? Did anyone die? There has been unconfirmed by the police, but it was being reported this afternoon on the news that they believe one child had died. But I don't know whether that's true or not. So he knew the timetable of the event and how to go in unchallenged. Yeah, he's probably picking up one of the children. Maybe, possibly, potentially a brother of one of the children. I mean, I don't know. That's speculation, but he obviously knew what time to go. So when the doors are opened, when the children are ready to leave and the parents go in to collect them, yeah. So he obviously knew. Were there others before he went to the business? I don't think so. I don't believe so. There's a press conference at 6:30. Is there? What time is it now? All right, I might have to stay for that. So I'm going to miss some of the Benefield case, but I can always watch it on the playback. But okay, so who's this? Donna Jones, chair of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. Deeply concerned to hear about the major incident in Southport. Well done, Merseyside Police. I want to read you some of the statements from people who were actually there. So I'm reading this from The Guardian. Neighbours said they were first alerted to the incident about 12 noon. I think the 999 call, I think the news said the 999 call came in at 11:48, I think. Will they pass it off as mental health? I mean, it may well be. I mean, look, you have to have something unhinged to stab multiple children. So that there has to be something wrong with you. Do I think Benefield was self-defense? What I will say is I don't think the prosecution have proven their case. If I was a member of the jury, I wouldn't feel that the prosecution had proven their case because they've got to prove that she did not act in self-defense. And I don't believe they've done that. This country's gone to the dogs, yeah. I think the dogs would do a much better job. Dogs would do a much better job of running the world. Just give the world to dogs and dogs will be fine. Dogs would run it very fairly. Dogs are very fair. Okay, neighbours said they first alerted to the incident at about 12 noon when they heard a woman in the street shouting for help. 10-year-old girl was bleeding and saying she was struggling to breathe. One neighbour said she was barely conscious. She's the daughter, come out saying, "Mum, I've been stabbed. I've been stabbed." Deborah Parker, 57, said. She, the mother, bundled her into a car as fast as she could. She was screaming, "Help me, help me." She was covered in blood. I heard her shouting, "My daughter has been stabbed," begging for help. She was trying to flag down the police. Michelle Birkbeat, 36, said. They said the woman had carried her daughter away from the scene, but another neighbour had got back into the car with the woman to help her drive her daughter back to where paramedics were inside the cordon. She was desperate for help. Soon after, large numbers of police arrived on scene. It was a bit insane, can't fathom. We're all just in shock. This is another resident who lives on Hart Street. Does not want to be named. Told PA Media, whatever that is, he was at home about midday when a woman pulled up outside in her car screaming. He said she was screaming, "My daughter's been stabbed." The woman was in hysterics. Then 2 police cars rushed up the street the other way. There was a mum with her 10-year-old daughter who had been stabbed. I helped her to get back to where the police cars and ambulance were. She didn't look great, but my focus was on getting her back up the street to get help. When I got back up the street, there was a couple of kids on the floor being seen by paramedics. As I came back, more police cars were going down, more ambulances gradually started to arrive. It just looked like when they were showing pictures on the news, it literally looked like every cop car and every ambulance in the entirety of Merseyside had launched themselves onto Hart Street. It was just absolute chaos by the looks of things. Oh, PA's Press Association. Oh, thanks for that. Meth is rare in the UK. It's not. Crystal meth isn't. Okay. Northwest Air Ambulance Charity it was called. So there's an air ambulance there as well. In a statement on social media, the charity said, early today we received a call to attend an incident in Southport. I don't know where they'd land a helicopter in that location, but anyway. Our crew is working closely with other agencies involved, including the police and Northwest Ambulance Service. Priority is the well-being of those involved. There's this speculation. All right, so here's another report from someone who was there. Elena Riley, 18, said her aunt saw parents running out of the dance class carrying children covered in blood and attempting to resuscitate them. She said she also watched parents resuscitating them out on the front. The parents had grabbed hold of them. I think it was pick-up time. Riley said she'd never heard screams like it. She was distraught and in an absolute state on the phone. Emergency service workers, including paramedics and firefighters, could be seen with their heads in their hands after the initial response to the stabbing. Residents told the Liverpool Echo the football grounds. Oh, yeah, the football ground, yeah. Southport football's close by. Yeah. Residents told Liverpool Echo, which is a local newspaper in Merseyside, heard sirens in an air ambulance landing nearby, with neighbours advising each other to lock their windows and doors. It was about 12:20, I think. We heard loads of sirens, and then there was a helicopter circling above. Then the messages started to go around the local WhatsApp group saying, lock your windows, lock your doors. We were told a man was running around stabbing people. Well, it wasn't quite that. He was detained. So I'd be interested to know who actually detained him initially. I don't think we've been told those details yet. We were all absolutely terrified, panicked, sick with worry. Everyone is trying to reach anyone they know in the area. I don't know how this can happen on a Monday lunchtime. Yeah, a Monday lunchtime. I mean, come on. Monday lunchtime at a children's dance class. What race is the attacker? Hasn't been stated. It's just it's 17, a 17-year-old boy. They found him inside a gym. Good God. So, right, flight restrictions affecting drones and helicopters imposed. Okay. So there's the map. It's Hart Street. Here are some of the pictures being sent over from Southport. It just looks like absolute chaos. Complete and total chaos. The Prime Minister has tweeted. So we'll see if there's anything new. Sky News have also got some. I've got some quotes as well. Colin Parry, the owner of Masters Car Repair Shop. So that's next door. That's next door to the Heart Centre. So the Masters Car Repair Shop said he had a brief exchange with a man believed to be the attacker minutes before the attack unfolded. So all this is coming in brand new. Where did this take place? Southport in Merseyside. So this is Hart Street. This is Hart Street. It's quite a long street. It's just a residential street. Residential street on the outskirts of Southport. This is the town of Southport. Turn it round. So this is Southport. So Hart Street is inland. Like there's obviously the beach. The marina. Oh, I've been around that marina so many times. Got a pizza up there. Golf course. There's the golf course. We've got Pleasureland. I don't know whether Pleasureland's still open, but go-karting. Southport's nice. I like Southport. Sylvia, member for 27 months. You are definitely one of the OGs. Maybe you was kicked out of a dance class. Don't know. I think the dance class was all. I think it was all little girls. From what I can glean at the moment. Have they got the person? Yes, he was detained. He was detained at the scene. So I would be interested to know who actually detained him. Anyway, back to Colin Parry, the owner of Masters Car Repair Shop, said he had a brief exchange with the man, boy, 17. He believes it was moments before the attack unfolded. He told The Guardian he came down our driveway in a taxi. I didn't pay for the taxi, so I confronted him at that point. He was quite aggressive. He said, "What are you going to do about it?" Oh, dear. The customer I was dealing with at the time confronted him as well. And he, the attacker, said the same to him. Then he turned round and walked out of the drive. Parry said the man was wearing a green hoodie and a COVID mask covering part of his face. Did the taxi driver not say, "Oh, hold on a minute, you not paid me"? Yeah, trying to figure out why attack children in a dance class. Is it true in the UK there are ER doctors that can get to emergencies? The paramedics have medical training. So ambulances, they turn up and you got the paramedics who have medical training. They're not doctors, but they are medically trained. You know, I think they're trained to the standard of nurses. My cousin's a paramedic, so I do know that. My cousin's paramedic in Lancashire, so this was in Merseyside. So even though it's literally on our front door, my cousin works in Lancashire. So an aggressive young man gets out of a taxi, doesn't pay, gets confronted by two people, but just, I don't know, walks away. So we've read that. All right, let's go to Sky News. Sky News, let's refresh. Sky News. All right. So these are key points. So we've known these basically from the outset. At least 8 people stabbed. A major incident declared in Southport. Some victims were taken to a children's hospital. 17-year-old boy arrested in connection. Eyewitness described as mother screaming. Public told to avoid the area. If you've been impacted or witnessed the incident, please get in touch on WhatsApp or email the news desk. Okay, so gathering evidence may take some time, says former police inspector. So they've got all the experts on and stuff. The things paramedics see, I just don't get how they function. Why exactly after something like this? It'll be out of my mind, yeah. They approach it with dark humour. I think that seems to be the way my cousin describes it. That there's, there are horrible things. When they get a call to a child. I remember my cousin told me this story. He was working in Preston, which is a city. I think it was Preston. So it was very busy. And they got a call and it came through to them as, I think it said a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old had a heart attack. So there's this little baby with this heart attack. So there's traffic everywhere. So he's driving the ambulance and his colleague, and they're swerving, they're going on pavements, they're doing everything to get to this little toddler who's had this heart attack. They turn up and a man calmly opens the door. They rush in saying, where's the patient? Where's the patient? And laid out on the couch was an old woman. And this man was just so calm, saying, I think she's dead. I think she died. And like my cousin was like, well, where's the child? We were told it was a 2-year-old. And he said, no, an 82-year-old. So it was an old lady who died. So, but when it's a child, when it's a little kid, they just do everything they can to get there as fast as they can. But yeah, horrific. This is horrific. So gathering evidence may take some time, says former police inspector. Police officers will now be focused on the forensic elements of the investigation. Speaking to Sky News, former Merseyside police inspector Peter Williams said, Mark Williams Thomas is going to crop up, isn't he? I bet Mark Williams Thomas gets his teeth into this one. So Peter Williams says there's still a lot of unanswered questions and gathering evidence may take some time. Of course it might. But the fact that they've got the perp and they've got the weapon, then, that's the main thing. Imagine the officers will be there for at least a day or so. Once CCTV videos and photos have been gathered, Mr. Williams says police will then interview witnesses. In terms of the motive for the attack, he says it's still early days and it could be one of several. It could be. The fact that it's a 17-year-old that's been arrested, I think lowers the chance of some potential motives. That this is a disgruntled dad who's been denied access to his child. That's less likely. I mean, I guess it's possible because initially it was Sky News who was saying it was at the pregnancy centre, but then it kind of came out that this was 10-year-olds at a dance class. So pleased to hold a news conference at 6:30. So we'll be here for that. It's about 35 minutes away. So I will stay and I will stream the press conference. So I'll be playing Ashley Benefield's trial back on 2x speed. So I'll quickly catch up on it. So pleased to hold news conference at 6:30 in about 35 minutes time. We're expecting to hear from Chief Constable Serena Kennedy. I think we heard from her. Her name rings a bell. I think we heard from her in the Olivia Pratt-Corbell case, the little girl who was shot in her own home by Thomas Cashman, an absolute and utter monster. Shot a 9-year-old in her own home. So, yeah, I think Serena Kennedy was one of the people who spoke then. Merseyside Fire and Rescue Chief Fire Officer Phil Garrigan and North West Ambulance Service Cheshire and Merseyside Head of Service Dave Kitchen will be bringing you live updates from the conference as soon as it begins. Oh, we got some gifted memberships. Let's have a look here. Thank you, Purple AJ, once again. I cannot thank you enough. You are so kind to this channel. You're so kind. All right, let's have a look who's got these memberships. I've still got a problem with this trackpad on this computer. I can't. Okay, all right. So we've got Tet Green, Sadie, Jenna, Rebecca, Alan, Down the Rabbit Hole, to hell. Well, it certainly does feel like that a lot, that we're going down a rabbit hole to hell. Absolutely does. MZ, Bullet for Dinner, and Andrew. I think that's it. So welcome you all. If I miss one, I'm sorry. But welcome you all. Has he been named? Not yet. No, he's not been named yet. And he might not be, actually, because he's 17. They might not name him. They could, if they decide to treat him as an adult, they could name him. But there might be some considerable debate as to whether they're going to name him with him being 17. But yeah, welcome you 10. Month's free membership, courtesy of Purple AJ. There is a members area. There's lots of stuff in there. Did a members live yesterday. It was cut short due to a copyright infringement. I haven't got a copyright strike, by the way. For those who were in that live, I haven't got a copyright strike, but it took the stream down. So, and Purple AJ has been a member for 33 months. Love seeing all the green names in chat. Oh, thank you, though. Thank you. And we've got Kiwi, another New Zealand person. Nearly said Australian then. New Zealand. So very early on Tuesday morning for you guys. Kiwi, thank you for the $16.99 New Zealand dollars. Thank you, thank you. Lives 50 minutes away. Yeah, lives in Banks. So it's down the road. It's just down the road. You go through Banks. If you go to Southport from here, go through Banks. So Banks is just like a small village, like on the outskirts of Southport. Crazy times, yeah. So that's the news. All right. So witness recalls screaming mother pulling up in a car. I think that this is probably the same as the previous ones. One resident lives in Hart Street, didn't want to be named, said he was at the home when a woman pulled up screaming. She was screaming, "My daughter's been stabbed." So this is the one from the 10-year-old. Sky News understands the stabbing took place at a community centre in Hart Street called Heart Space. So I think Heart Space maybe has the pregnancy centre, and then it has maybe space for dance classes and things like that. So it's a community hub, shall we say. So I think that's probably where the confusion came from, because Sky News was calling it a pregnancy centre. So I was thinking, good Lord. So somebody's gone to an antenatal class and started stabbing expectant mothers. That's, you know, it was like, what on earth, and their children? Like, that's just insane. But it seems it was, 10-year-olds at a dance studio. Still strong emergency service presence at the scene. Forensics officers are there. Shop owner describes feeling very scared after hearing of the attack. Woman who owns a business in the area close to the stabbing been speaking to Sky News. She said she opened her shop. She noticed a helicopter circling. Then she heard about the attack. Southport is normally a quiet place. She said it is. It is. I mean, a lot of people from like the Liverpool area and even some around here, like retire to Southport. It's got quite an, you know, an older population. Maybe not quite as much these days, but it's certainly quiet. You know, for a large town, it's certainly quiet. On the MI6 watch list, don't know. The police are saying that they don't believe it's terror related, so probably not. You know, they're not deeming it a terror related attack. Then I can't imagine that this person is going to be on some kind of watch list. Okay, we've never had a situation like this. I was very scared. Even now, the situation is shocking me. I can't believe what's happening. Closed my shop, and I was in for about an hour. Yvette Cooper, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, has tweeted. I mean, that's just... There were some overhead shots. Sky News was like playing some overhead shots, and it just looked like chaos. Absolute chaos. I mean, you know, so many victims. They've said that there's at least 8. Boyfriend with a vengeance. He was only 17 though. So if these were like 10-year-old little girls practicing a Taylor Swift inspired dance routine, then he's not the boyfriend of one of the little girls, is he? And he's probably not a boyfriend of one of the mothers either. I don't know. I just don't know. It's thrown a little curveball in for me. I have to admit, it's thrown a curveball in to what I was thinking. Don't leave your kids with anyone ever. But this was a dance studio at a community centre. You know, the people who were, you know, delivering the instructors would have been DBS checked. I mean, what more can you do, honestly? And it was only like an hour, maybe, a class that was an hour, and the parents would have been local, and they just turned up to pick up their kid from a dance class, and this is happening. Possibly boyfriend of instructor. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. We're gonna maybe find out a little bit more at 6:30 in 28 minutes time when the press conference is on. Maybe. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more then. Chaos. See, they were saying pregnancy care centre, but it's a community centre, heart space. So we reported earlier that a Taylor Swift yoga and dance workshop aimed at children between primary school years 2 and 6 was taking place near where the attack happened. Year 2. What's year 2? So 6-year-olds. Year 6 is 11. So 6 to 11-year-olds, I think. Is that year 2 and year 6? So 6 to 11, approximately. Anyone else feels sick to the stomach? Yeah. I think you have to be almost brain dead and lacking all empathy not to feel sick about something like this. Yeah, 6 is year 2. So age 6 to about age 10 to 11. Year 6 is the last primary school class, and then you go to high school. So year 7 is first year of high school, I think. Katrina Marie said, my heart is broken. As many of you know, I work at the Heart Space twice a week, and it's a community hub for children and adults. The news of what has happened today has shaken me to the core, and all I can think about is the families of those children and class leaders that were there today. We are one big family at the Heart Space, and this cuts deep. Absolutely no words to describe what's happened today, and I'm praying for all the families affected. Let's hold them in our thoughts. Please, no more speculation until more information is released. So this was a couple of hours ago. A local councillor understands that one of the children had died. Norwood councillor Greg Myers has seemingly confirmed a child has died in the stabbing in Southport. When asked if he could confirm the death of a child, he told PA News, that's my understanding of the situation. Local resident Ryan Carney told Sky News his mum was nearby when the incident happened and saw bodies covered in blood. She can hear screaming and crying. She goes out, she goes round to see what's happened, and all she said was she saw the members of police ambulance carrying out a few bodies of girls. They were in white, but they were covered in red. Oh, good Lord. She said she could see the stab wounds in the backs of the children. I told you this was harrowing. I told you this was harrowing. My brother's been with her as well. He's 13 and he witnessed it. Ryan said his mum then saw a woman who was screaming, who said that her child was lost and she couldn't find her child. They let her into the cordon and she ran down, and all you could hear is her screaming and crying, saying, that's my child, in the bodies. Oh, dear. Well, we have only heard of one child dying at the moment. I mean, only. I mean, that doesn't comprehend, does it? You say only one has died. But there may be more, but these are very, very serious injuries. You know, they were taken to the Children's Hospital, Alder Hey. Also, there's been people taken to the hospital in Southport, Aintree Hospital. So they've spread out the victims to 3 separate hospitals. So that obviously tells you just how serious it is that they've spread them out, you know, because one hospital probably couldn't have dealt with that many victims, because these people will need surgery. So imagine, you know, one hospital just can't cope with that level of, you know, the amount of surgeons and you know, operating rooms that would be needed. So flight restrictions, we've seen that. Police chief called stabbing horrific and deeply distressing. College of Policing Chief Constable Sir Andy Marsh has said his thoughts are with everyone affected in Southport. My thoughts this afternoon with everyone affected by this horrific and deeply distressing incident. Grateful to the police officers and all the emergency services responding. Yeah. So that's the air ambulance. There you go. That's where it landed. That's where it landed. I don't know where that is, by the way, but if you look on the map, actually, there is some green space close by. So this is Hart Street. So, land there, maybe. Does that look like where it landed? Possibly there. Oh, there's the... land there. Football ground. Yes, it doesn't really matter where it landed. I'm just curious. Shopkeeper says town is shocked. Claims stabbing was at a nursery. Carolina Kaminska, shopkeeper in the area, told Sky Locals somebody walked into a nursery with a knife and randomly stabbed the kids. Well, we know it was a dance class, but there probably is like you know, nursery type events goes on there as well. It's a community centre. Randomly started stabbing the kids. She says, what I heard this morning, the situation shocked everybody, as you can see. I opened the Facebook page that people usually use to post things over there, and there was a lot of comments about the situation. Some people were stabbed with a knife. What's going on? There was information about the kids that were involved. Somebody walked into a nursery with a knife and randomly stabbed the kids. I just quickly closed the door to my shop. I'm still shaking. I can't think what is happening. Oh, dear God. There's not people taking videos, is there? There better not be. There better not be TikTokers there who are going to post pictures of dead bodies or bodies covered in blood who are seriously injured. Please do not. Please do not. Look, I could be there this afternoon. It's only 18 miles away. I could be there this afternoon reporting from the scene. Am I there? No, because the police have told people to keep away. So let's, the emergency services, do their job. Let's do that, shall we? Yeah, I know the news conference is at 6:30. I do know that. In 19 minutes. Northwest Air Ambulance Charity is urging people to avoid speculation and to hand any footage of the incident to the police. We ask that people resist speculating about the incident. It's hard not to. I mean, the motive, I think it's hard not to speculate on why. You know, it's human nature to go, why? Why would a 17-year-old brandishing a knife go into a dance class and randomly start stabbing children? It's your human nature to want to know why somebody would do something so atrocious. But I get what he's saying, or she. Avoid posting images and videos online. We would encourage dashcam or mobile phone footage to be given to the police, as such material could prove vital in any ongoing investigation. Yeah, so even though they've got this person, if this person pleads not guilty, then Merseyside police have got to put a case together to get this person into court, and people who hold on to footage and then post it on TikTok or YouTube, you are not helping the investigation whatsoever. There's nothing that YouTubers or TikTokers can do by going to the scene and taking videos. There's nothing you can do. This person has been detained. It's not a manhunt. This person has been detained. So they need as much footage as they can to track the movements of this person. Now, we've heard from one gentleman who thinks he spoke to this young man before he went into the dance studio, but where had he come from? You know, those kind of details are important. They'll be wanting CCTV footage. They'll be wanting, obviously, the taxi driver, if that is indeed, you know, the perp. That taxi driver will be able to inform them where this person was picked up from. So they've got all of that. They'll have all of that. But posting videos and doing stuff online is detrimental. It can play into the defence's hands. Let's just say that. So please don't. So Taylor Swift yoga and dance workshop for kids was taking place nearby. So we do know that it was this event. Taylor Swift yoga and dance workshop aimed at children ages between primary school years 2 and 6 was taking place near where the attack happened. So the heart space. There you go. Monday, 29th of July, 10 a.m. till 12 noon. Thank you, C Peace, for the 99 cents. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Do I want to know the rumoured name of TikTok? No, honestly. Don't put names in the chat. Thank you anyway, but no. At this stage, let's not put names in the chat because people jump on it. They start researching, they start digging in, they start going real life, and it all escalates. So let's just wait to have, if there is a name that's going to be confirmed by the cops, let's just wait for them. They might not name the person because he's 17. They might not want him named. So it's a 2-hour dance workshop, dance class with Leanne and Heidi. So why target a Taylor Swift dance class? Why? So the parents turn up to pick their kids up from this Taylor Swift thing. So that fits. Early on this morning, this afternoon, we were told the call came in at 11:48. That's what was reported on the news very early on, 11:48. So 10 to 12, parents start arriving, parking up, walk to the, down the road to the dance studio to pick the kid up. And just as they're arriving, this lunatic appears and starts stabbing little girls. Dear God. Dear God. Clamour to know what happened. Well, yeah, of course there is. Got some new posts here. Let's have a look. Oh, God. He stabbed these kids several times. Witness described seeing children bleeding on the floor. One witness has described seeing children bleeding on the floor. Colin Parry, who owns the business next door. So we heard from Colin earlier. Colin is the one who, it's the business, the car business is right next door to the Heart Centre. And he's the one who thinks he spoke to the perp. Is this Colin? This is Colin. Oh, he looks utterly shocked. I mean, God. Imagine. Looks utterly shocked. So told Sky News that one of his colleagues phoned him and said he needed to get outside. It was definitely intentional. It wasn't once. I mean, how could it be? How could it be unintentional when you've stabbed at least 8 people? We don't exactly know how many, but it's at least 8. It could be more. Several times he stabbed these kids. The man is crazy, he said. He recalled how his colleague was carrying a young girl who was covered in blood. He's covered in blood, trying to look after her, keeping her alive. Mr. Parry added that neighbours were helping to bring children out, and one of them had been targeted repeatedly. She was really critical. One of the other neighbours was looking after her on the floor. He called the police, telling them they needed to send as many ambulances as they could get to the scene. I don't know how many girls were left in that building. He was still in there, and I thought, he's going to kill them all, Mr. Parry said. It's like a nightmare, the biggest, horrific thing you could ever witness in your life, seeing little kids like that. That is utterly shocking. That is utterly, utterly shocking. It really is. Utterly shocking. Good Lord. See if the Guardian's got any updates. So look. Four minutes ago, a woman said she left work immediately to check on her daughter when she heard the news from the attack. Got a call from a very good friend of mine who was in work, completely oblivious. As soon as she told me, I literally ran out of work. I don't know how I managed to drive. To be fair, my priority was just to get my girls. I knew my eldest daughter was taking her to a friend's house, and I'm just thankful that they're safe. So her girls went there. Nobody can believe it. It's all local mums have checked in with one another. I'm sure we're all going to know somebody from that poor group. But the parents that checked in on my girls just ran to the crowd because I just thought, you put your NHS ad on, don't you? The mother said it was just consoling, just the look on her face because she knew something had happened to her child. It's like, oh my gosh, how do you even comprehend? There's nothing you can do. Police have cordoned off a street with officers stationed outside a house in the village of Banks, 3 miles from the stabbing incident. Well, it's probably where the young man lives. It's not yet clear if the two incidents are linked. 2 police cars stationed at Old School Close in Banks, with more police vehicles and officers behind the cordon. Locals said Matrix Police, the armed unit of Merseyside Police, descended on the address shortly after the incident in Southport. Maybe that's where he was picked up from, possibly. The name is on Google now, shall I say? No, please don't. Not yet. If the police name the person, then you can put the name in 100 times. I just don't want names in the chat that might not be connected, just in case. So Old School Close, Banks. I'm going to see where that is. Okay. Old School Close, Banks, Southport. All right, so Old School Close in Banks. All right, normal street. Banks is just a little village. I mean, it's very posh. I mean, maybe it's not very posh, but it's very, it's only small, got a very, village feel to it. So this is Old School Close. Oh no, that's Hoole Lane. Why does it take me to Hoole Lane? Why does it not take me to Old School Close? Where's that? Huh. Is that Old School Close? Why not let me go down there, Google? What's going on? All right, I'll do it again. What are you doing to me? All right. Old School Close, Southport. Oh, there it is. Tiny little thing. So it's down here. It's not letting me go down there. Obviously, the Google car hadn't gone down there. So it's just a few houses. Just like a handful of houses. Okay. Down here on the other side. A few houses on that side as well. Okay. Just regular houses. They might say the name at the press conference. They might do. No map. Okay. There we go. Old School Close. A few small houses. Just regular normal houses. This is 12 minutes drive away from Hart Street. So that's where armed police descended on this little tiny street here in the village of Banks. Can you imagine living there? Armed police arrived. I bet all the curtain switches were out. What I do when there's any palaver going on around here, I get the dogs and take the dogs out. And, I just innocently walk by, rubbernecking. So, got a new update here. Joanne Newman said her elder daughter, who had been taking her younger sister to a friend's house, heard a sinister scream around the same time as the stabbing. She told BBC News she heard a sinister scream and literally she got back from taking my daughter. Don't know roughly what time it was. All right, so you heard a scream. Okay. Old school close in Banks. All right, so we've got 5 minutes till the presser. I'm assuming Sky will be streaming it. So let's. I'll go to Sky News on YouTube. Okay, that's some woman talking about politics. So this chat is full of racist comments. Jerry Tate strip, I'll mod you. Hold on, there we go. You should go blue now. Look, let's not make racist comments. There's no need for it. I mean, look, you know, if it turns out that this person is non-white, well, okay. Or turns out that they're not from, you know, they're not a white British person. Turns out that they're, I don't know, an Asian person or a black person or I don't know, an Eastern European person or a Spanish person. So what? At this moment in time, unless it's relevant to motive, i.e. it's I don't know, an extremist group, a member from an extremist group, then race isn't relevant or ethnic group isn't relevant to understanding, you know, the psychology of this absolute nut job or the motive behind this. It doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't tell us anything. And the police have said that they don't believe that this is a terror-related event. It was a migrant, someone said. There hasn't been any racism in chat. All right, fair enough. But look, if it's a migrant person, well, unless it's relevant, so this is a migrant, so what? If it's not relevant to them, if it's not directly related to the motive, what does it matter? And if this is a migrant, then it's obviously somebody who knows this area. Because how would they know to turn up on this quiet street in Southport, just like a residential street, and turn up just at the right time when parents are picking up their kids from a dance class? It's got to be somebody who knows that area. Of course it matters we've allowed him in. No, unless it's a terror-related incident, in which case it does become relevant. If it's not a terror-related incident and this is a person in the community, then their ethnic group or their race is not relevant to the understanding why this happened. So you can make as many arguments in support of what you're saying as you want, but the motive, the psychology behind why a nut job would go and do this, why a 17-year-old would go and do this to little children, understanding that if it's not terror related, then why is race relevant? I mean, yeah, it could be a hate crime. And in which case it's relevant. So this is somebody who hates little girls. What are you saying? Somebody who hates little girls? Were all these little girls of a certain ethnic group that this nut job hated? So yeah, there's another motive. You could say, well, all right, race, ethnicity from both the perp and the victims is relevant in that instance. But we don't know yet. We don't know yet. Somebody who hates Taylor Swift. Well, if they're prepared to go to a class that's Taylor Swift inspired because they hate Taylor Swift and stab multiple people multiple times and potentially kill one of them, at least one of them potentially, then that is somebody, regardless of their colour of their skin or their ethnic group or how long they've been in the UK, this is someone who is unhinged. This is someone who should never be given freedom again. If they hate Taylor Swift, why take it out on kids who were just at a dance class? That's somebody who's incredibly unhinged. Hatred of Western society. Yeah, but we've been told that it's not a terror-related incident. I don't know. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. So we've got the press conference there waiting. Sky News have got it. I've got it queued up. It has just gone 6:30. I'm sure they'll switch over. Let's listen to what they're talking. They're still talking politics, but could you hear that? Can you hear that? Can you hear that okay? Let's do a sound check. You couldn't hear it. You couldn't hear it. Oh, I know why. All right, good job we did the sound check. All right, I'm going to have to reshare. Take it off, take it on again. All right. Let's try again. Right, can you hear this now?
In part being used as a kind of political device to cover for what happens in the budget. Because when it gets to the budget and we see the spending review, that's the stuff that Rachel Reeves can't really conceivably say she didn't know about, because that's all of the stuff that we have already had. We've already got those figures in terms of how tight spending settlement.
All right. Good stuff. It's StreamYard. For whatever reason, StreamYard drops audio every now and again. Just drops the audio. So there's obviously people in the room. See people in the room there. No, there's no sound again because I've got it muted because they're talking about politics. I'm not muted. Look, listen.
Possibility kicks the tires of that, does the health check, publishes that she can know about. What she can't have known about, partly because the OBR isn't allowed to tell her under the current rules, which are about to change.
You can hear that,
is about
right?
In-year spending.
I'm muting it. So they're talking about politics and spending and economic budgets and stuff. So I'm watching this. They'll switch over once the press conference starts. I think they're just killing time with this. The government has been left with dire inheritance, apparently. Need to take a break and sit in the sun outside. Yeah, I know. I know the feeling. After this press conference, I'm going to go right back to the trial, and I might go and sit outside and listen to it in my ears.
About half of this overspend, as she puts it, is accounted for by pay.
Whatever. There's a chemical incident in Bath today. What does that mean, the tea lady? A chemical incident. I don't know what that means. Catching up in 2 times speed. Oh, you're after my own heart. That's what I'll be doing with the trial. Come on, they're late. The cops are always late. In the UK, and whenever they call a presser, they're always late, I can tell you. Oh, good Lord, someone threw acid on someone. Stabbing near my hubby at work in Tamworth. Tamworth's in the Midlands. Good Lord. Jeez. So it's all going down. I don't know what the world's coming to. They need to just give the world to the dogs and let the dogs deal with it. Oh, this is Southport. Let's listen in.
The police about these awful stabbings in Southport. Shingi Mariiki is there for us. Shingi, first of all, just bring us up to date with what we know.
Well, Mark, in the next few minutes, we're expecting to hear from Serena Kennedy, the Chief Constable, Merseyside Police, with more information on this situation. But this is what we know so far. We know that the police were called to reports of a major incident at 11:50 a.m. on this residential street behind me in Southport. There, they detained a man and they seized a knife from him. And we understand that in that attack, children were among those injured. In fact, we understand that one of the location where this happened is called the Heart Centre, and that's where we know that children, parents, and people from the community are supported. We also know that at that time there was a Taylor Swift yoga and dance workshop taking place. And in the last hour, the police have added a little more context to the situation, telling us more about the person who they've arrested and who they are set to question, who is in custody. That is a teenager, a 17-year-old man from the Bank area, which is around 3 or 4 miles from here in Lancashire. They say that they arrested him and seized the knife after that major incident, and that terror is not thought to be a motive. They have also said that they're not looking for anyone else in connection with this. They've reserved this to just that one suspect. And over the course of the morning, there was a large emergency response. Part of that response saw North First Ambulance Service bring 13 ambulances to the area, and we've also seen emergency services on the street behind me. The cordon is still in place. We've seen forensics officers walking up towards the scene, carrying out investigations, and we know that those casualties have been taken to a number of hospitals in the area, 3 hospitals, including Alder Hey, that large children's hospital. They have called a major incident at Alder Hey Hospital, saying that unless it is an emergency, unless it is a serious emergency, people looking to take their children to A&E should refrain from doing that. We also have spoken to people in and around the area, including one man who said that his mother saw what was happening, saw children injured, bleeding, and parents crying out for those children. We've also spoken to one man who told us that he had never seen so many ambulances arriving. He saw the air ambulances landing on a field just the other side of where this cordon is. He said that he saw a casualty being taken into the ambulance. He wasn't able to tell us the age of that casualty. So this information is still coming out. We understand that in that press conference, the police will give us more detail, perhaps on the state of those casualties, perhaps more about the suspect, who we know is that 17-year-old male. And we also perhaps will hear more about the scale of the emergency response, which is still very present on the ground here. Like I've said earlier, there's a school around the corner from here, where we can see a number of emergency service vehicles. That looks like a hub where they are meeting and perhaps supporting some of the people affected by this. In their statement, we've heard from a number of agencies, including Alder Children's Hospital, who earlier today said that they can confirm the trust has declared a major incident, that they are working with emergency services to respond to this incident, and their emergency department is currently extremely busy. We ask parents to only bring their children to the emergency department if it is urgent. So we understand children have been injured in this incident. We're expecting an update shortly from Merseyside Police, perhaps on those casualties and also on the suspect, the 17-year-old man from Lancashire.
Yeah, and Shingy, much of what the police will want to do now will be about reassuring a desperately shocked community.
That's right, and you get that from the tone of their statements. They're asking people to refrain from sharing speculation and from adding to the swirl of social media speculation information that is out there. And I think that has become a defining feature of a number of police investigations and high-profile incidents. You've got people at the scene who are also just coming to take a look and posting on social media and posting their own live streams. So I think that's something that the police will want to do, because this is a community that's been shaken. This street behind me is a largely residential street, and the people who we have spoken to are describing horrendous scenes. We've seen people over the course of the afternoon now bringing flowers. A couple of people brought flowers, obviously, to show their support for the families of the victims and the victims themselves. But the eyewitness that we spoke to, who said that his mother had heard the commotion, talked to us about deeply distressing things about children who were injured, about parents who were calling out for their children. So I think you're right, Mark. In the police statement, they will be trying to address those community concerns around a horrendous incident in which so much information is to come, so much more information is to be addressed, perhaps in this press conference, but also over the next few days.
Yeah, Shingy, stay with us because, as I say, we're about to hear from the police, fire and the ambulance services at that news conference in Southport. I just want to go over to Alder Children's Hospital, where Fraser Maud is this evening. And Fraser, what are you getting in terms of any information about the condition of the patients, the children taken there?
Yeah, good evening. Well, very little information coming out at the moment, other than what we've been hearing for much of the day. 8 people injured, taken to 3 separate hospitals, to Alder Children's Hospital here, obviously giving an indication of the age of the victims. Also taken to Aintree University Hospital and to Southport and Formby Hospital. So that means that there potentially could be a maximum of 6 people brought here. If it's 8 people to 3 hospitals, if 1 each went to the other 2, then that leaves 6 people potentially taken to the hospital here. There is still a strong police presence at A&E, which is around the other side from the front of the building here, and we understand that there are still a number of police officers in the area waiting to speak to potentially families of the victims or people who were involved in the incident themselves. So obviously this is very early stages in what's a very fast-moving investigation by police. In terms of the treatment that they'll be receiving here, 450,000 children a year are treated here at Alder Hospital. It's ranked as one of the top 20 paediatric hospitals in the entire world. So there is nowhere that these children will be receiving any better care than they will receive here. But what we don't know is the exact number of children that have been brought here, the nature or severity of their injuries, or any further details in terms of their identities. That will be some way down the line before identities are revealed. But clearly, in terms of a situation or a condition check on the patients that have been brought here, we've heard nothing so far. What we do know is that Alder Hospital here has declared an emergency status. They put out a statement earlier on saying that they've declared this a major incident, that says that the Trust is working with other emergency services to respond to this incident, and our emergency department is currently extremely busy. We ask parents to only bring their children to the emergency department if it is urgent. All other appointments, so they say, and services have been running as normal. Now, of course, treating anyone that's been involved in a situation such as this is going to be incredibly traumatic. The fact that there are children that are involved in the situation makes it even more so, and the ages of the children, and depending on what the nature of the injuries are, it makes it much more emotionally and technically difficult for anybody who is working to try and treat the children that have been brought here. So as yet, still unclear the numbers, how many children have been brought here, very much unclear as to what the nature or severity of the injuries are. We're still waiting for an update. It may be that some of those details are given to us in the Merseyside Police press statement, which we're waiting on at the moment to give some more indication as to the numbers involved and the severity of the injuries involved. There have been no confirmations yet of any fatalities. We know that 8 people, or a minimum of 8 people, have been treated. They've been taken to 3 separate hospitals, including Alderhay here, which of course is a specialist children's unit. It's about 16 miles away from the scene. The children were airlifted here by air ambulance. There was obviously a huge response to the scene earlier on today in Southport, involving emergency services, police, fire, of course, but also ambulance crews, paramedics. Effectively a major incident, and that's been confirmed by the hospital here, where an unknown number of children are receiving care for, at the moment, what are unknown, unspecified injuries.
Yeah, Fraser, thank you very much indeed. An exceptionally difficult day for the staff there at Alderhay Hospital, Children's Hospital. But as Fraser was saying, they are very, very good at what they do. Let's go back to Shingi Mariiki in Southport. And Shingi, a point that was being made to me earlier by a former Merseyside police officer was that the police will want to get the facts out there as quickly as possible because of everything that goes on nowadays on social media.
That's right, Mark. And I think that statement, which is imminent now, will give us more information and will hopefully seek to clear up that social media whirlpool of information around this. We have had in the last couple of hours an update from the police. That is around the 17-year-old man who they've arrested. They say that we can confirm a 17-year-old male from Banks was arrested in connection with the stabbing here in Southport this morning. They say that he remains in police custody and he will be questioned about the incident. They've also ruled out terror as a motive in this statement that they put out. They've also urged people not to speculate, which is touching on what you were just saying there, Mark. This investigation is ongoing and they want to get a handle on the information that is being put out there by a number of people. They've also confirmed that they are continuing to put out updates to the public and they're not looking for anyone else in connection with the incident. Another thing I'd like to reflect on, having been here over the course of the afternoon, is the shock that it's caused to the community. We've spoken to one person who's lived here since 1971. He saw air ambulances landing on a field nearby. He said that he saw a casualty being loaded into one of those air ambulances. He couldn't quite make out the age of that casualty, but he had seen 4 or 5 air ambulances landing. We also went around the corner and we saw a school where there was a hub for emergency services, obviously lining up part of this response. And then another eyewitness who has spoken to Sky News was telling us about how their mother saw what took place. They saw children apparently injured and bleeding, and they saw their parents crying, and they're crying out for their children. And just to come back to the scale of the emergency response, North West Ambulance Service said it has so far treated 8 patients with stab injuries, some of whom have been taken to Alderhay Hospital, where Fraser Moore just was, my colleague, as well as Aintree University Hospital and Southport and Thornby Hospital. So 3 hospitals in the area treating the casualties. When the police came here, they say they detained that 17-year-old man. They seized the knife from him. And then obviously the emergency services moved in to treat those patients, taking them to nearby hospitals. In the last few minutes, we've heard a police helicopter overhead. We've also seen over the course of the afternoon forensics officers walking towards the scene behind me, obviously carrying out their investigations. There is a police presence and a cordon in place, which you can imagine will remain here for the foreseeable future. So this on the ground is a situation in which something obviously tragic and awful has happened. And on the other end of things, we're looking at the police putting out statements to try and quell any disinformation, to try and keep a handle on the situation. And like I say, that statement coming from Merseyside Police's Chief Constable will be any moment now, and we'll hear more about perhaps what happened this morning, more about the state of those casualties as well.
Okay, Shingi, just hold on there if you can. I want to bring in Amelia Harper, who is at Sky Centre. And Amelia, the police were very quick to point out that at the moment they're not dealing with this as a terror attack, but it is a truly shocking example
All right, I'm just going to hop in just to answer a couple of questions, seeing as they're taking their time here. But I saw in the chat earlier that there'd been some kind of stabbing or something in St Ives as well today. That's down in Cornwall. Cornwall's lovely. What? It's crazy. And then someone else said that they were followed or chased or something. I mean, what's going down? What's going on? But yeah, they always take the time. Whenever there's a press conference here in the UK, they're never on time. They're never on time. They will keep us waiting. The New York Post is reporting that one victim has passed. Yeah, that was reported earlier here in the news as well, but we don't know that for sure. It was one like local councillor or something believed that one of them had died, but we don't know that. Obviously, we'll be told that in the press conference if it ever gets going. Heard that the suspect couldn't pay his taxi fare and was arguing people. Yes, we read the quote. It was the man, he's called Colin Parry, from the business next door to this community centre, who believes that he saw the perpetrator like moments before this happened, and it was someone getting out of a taxi and he didn't pay. So Colin Parry, the business owner, and a customer who was with Colin at the time approached this man and said, aren't you going to pay? And he behaved aggressively and walked off. Is it the hot weather? We hardly getting it. It's not that hot, is it? It's not that hot. It's a little bit too hot for me, but it's not that hot. I can hear Tilly. Is Mercury in retrograde or something? What's in the water over there? Oh, loopy juice. But yeah, we get an awful lot of knife crime here in the UK. We get less gun crime than in the United States because guns are not quite as easy to get hold of. If you know where to go, you can get one, but you know, just as a day-to-day thing that you might have around, you might not have a gun, but everybody's got knives. You know, you can create devastation. You don't need like a specialist hunting knife to create devastation. Anybody can get their hands on a knife. We have an awful lot of knife crime. Knife crime has been the focus of so many police initiatives over the years, and it's still a massive problem. Where is Southport? Southport is in the northwest of England. This is Southport. So that's Banks, where the perpetrator has this shed or not. Oh, dear God. Hold on 1 second. Southport's in the northwest. That's Southport there. There's Southport, northwest of England. Very close to where I live. 18 miles away from where I live. 18 miles from where I live. All right. Let's go back to Sky News. Let's listen in. Southport's about 5 miles from Liverpool. Yeah, it's just down the coast from Liverpool. 18 miles from where I live to where this event took place. Hope the police don't kick him or anything. Yeah. Used to take my dogs to Formby Beach a lot. Sky News. It's not Sky, it's the cops. Why call a press conference for 6:30 and then nothing? It's farmland around Banks and the two other villages. Yeah, Banks is very small, very rural, just on the outskirts of Southport. Why are they always late for presses? I think they're probably like, I don't know, deciding what to say, getting the words right, getting the latest facts. Maybe something's just come in. Maybe there's something that, you know, they need to vet. I don't know. I'm guessing. Oh, we're seeing the room. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Come in. Incoming.
We're not going to go to Shingi Mariki. We are going to stay with this because the news conference, as you can see, is about to start.
Chief Constable Serena Kennedy from Merseyside Police. It is with great sadness today I'm here to advise that 2 children have died as a result of the injuries sustained in this morning's knife attack. 9 other children have been injured and 6 of them are in a critical condition. All those injured have suffered stab wounds sustained during the attack, and 2 adults are also in a critical condition after being injured during the incident. A 17-year-old male from Banks in Lancashire, who is originally from Cardiff, has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, and is being taken to a police station where he will be interviewed by detectives. My officers were called to reports of a stabbing at 11:47 this morning and at an address in Southport. When they arrived, they were shocked to find that multiple people, many of whom were children, had been subjected to a ferocious attack and had suffered serious injuries. It is understood that the children were attending a Taylor Swift event at a dance school when the offender, armed with a knife, walked into the premises and started to attack inside the children. We believe that the adults who were injured were bravely trying to protect the children who were being attacked. As a mum and a nana, I can't begin to imagine the pain and suffering that the families of the victims are going through at this moment in time, and I wish to send my heartfelt condolences to them. Our specialist family liaison officers are providing support to the families of the deceased children and the children who were injured at this moment in time. And we'll be working with our partners, including Sefton Council, to provide that wider trauma support to those who've been affected by this incident. The investigation is in its early stages and the motivation for the incident remains unclear. However, Counter-Terrorism Police North West have offered their support to Merseyside Police as the full circumstances of what has happened are being established. At this moment in time, the investigation is not being treated as terrorist related. I would appeal to anyone who's witnessed anything or who has information that could help us, the investigation, to contact us on Crime Stoppers 0800 555 111. And anyone who's been affected by this incident can contact Victim Care Merseyside Service for help and support. Our hub of locally trained staff are here to provide free and emotional support and practical tailored advice to you. You can contact the Victim Care Hub Merseyside on 0808 175 3080. Thank you.
My name is Dave Kitchen, and on behalf of North West Ambulance Service, we'd like to offer our sincere condolences to those families who tragically lost loved ones today and to the wider community. Our thoughts are with you. I can confirm that we were called to the Hart Street area in Southport just before lunchtime today to an incident of reported multiple stabbings. We declared this as a major incident due to the number of casualties and the types of the injuries sustained. A substantial number of ambulances and specialised resources were dispatched to the scene, including our hazardous area response team, air ambulances and merit doctors. Tragically, we can confirm that 2 lives have sadly been cut short. We treated 11 casualties on scene, who were conveyed by emergency ambulance and helimed to Alder Hey Hospital, Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, along with Aintree University, Southport Formby and Ormskirk General Hospitals. I'd like to thank our staff who worked incredibly hard, caring for the victims in what was a devastating scene. I'd also like to thank our Blue Light and emergency colleagues from the NHS, the wider NHS, for all their support during this incident. And again, we'd like to express our deepest sympathies to the loved ones of those affected. No doubt this incident will have a lasting impact on the whole community, and our thoughts are very much with them at this difficult time.
Phil Garrigan, Chief Fire Officer for Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service. And my colleagues, I would like to pass on my thoughts and those of my service to the family, friends and loved ones of everyone affected by this horrific incident. This is not something that anyone should have to come to terms with. In relation to the incident itself, my firefighters responded following the declaration of a major incident and were on the scene in minutes. With crews from Southport Fire Station and a specialist team from Aintree responding to assist our colleagues from Merseyside Police and North West Ambulance Service, who were dealing with a traumatic and understandably chaotic scene. The crews, who are trauma trained, worked alongside their colleagues to provide trauma care, administer first aid, and undertake a wide area search for any other persons affected by this incident. My firefighters, many of whom live in this community, will be appalled by this act, but they will be back on the streets of Southport tomorrow to provide reassurance, kindness and support. The crews themselves were stood down at 4:18 p.m. this afternoon.
Well, that was a news conference from the Chief Constable of Merseyside Police, Serena Kennedy, and she brought us very sad news. It is that 2 children have died as a result of the attack in Southport. 9 other children are injured. 6 of those children are in a critical condition. 2 adults are also in a critical condition. A 17-year-old has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder, and the Chief Constable said it was an horrendous attack, and the adults injured, she said, were trying bravely to protect the children. But as
Okay, that is absolutely devastating. Devastating. So 2 children have died. And these were children between the ages of 6 and 11 years old. Between the ages of 6 and 11 years old. Nine others were injured, 6 of whom are critical, so they may succumb to their injuries, plus 2 adults who were the instructors of the dance class, and they tried to defend their children. They tried to defend the children in their care. And we know that these two brave souls potentially are called Leanne and Heidi. Potentially. Because this is the event poster that was put on Facebook for people to book onto Taylor Swift yoga and dance workshop with Leanne and Heidi. So potentially, those are the two brave women who tried their very best to defend the children in their care. So as you can see, that was today between 10 a.m. and 12. And it all started to go down just before 12 o'clock, just before this class ended. And it was for years 2 to 6. So that's 6-year-olds to 11-year-olds. So the oldest child in that room would have been 11 years old, potentially the oldest child. There may have even been only 10-year-olds there, but years 2 to 6, between 6 and 11. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what that scene would have looked like? And how quickly someone can devastate so many lives? Because those 13 people, 2 have already died. There's 6 who are critical, who, even if they survive, they may be left with lifelong injuries. They'll all be left with lifelong scars, physical scars, but also deep psychological scars as well. And, you know, let's think for a moment about the responding officers there, the police, the paramedics, and the firefighters who also responded. Imagine what they witnessed today. And all of this is at the hands of a 17-year-old who lived about 4 miles away in the village of Banks, but was originally from Cardiff, which is in South Wales. So we don't know any more about this person. We haven't been given his name. All we know is that it's not thought at this moment in time to be a terrorist-related event. That could change, obviously. But this person hasn't been named. I think there'll be a lot of discussion amongst the police higher ups to decide, are they going to name this person? They probably won't until the trial. If they plead guilty, they'll probably name them. But if they plead not guilty, we may not find out that person's name until the trial. We may do. It's not without the realms of possibility that they'd name them, but they usually don't. They usually don't, honestly. What kind of monster could do this to children? I don't know. I can't answer that. It's horrific. For this to all have unfolded 18 miles away from my front door, and, you know, Southport is a reasonably large town, but it's quiet. I mean, all right, there might be a little bit of, the odd physical assault and stuff. There's a few nightclubs in Southport, but usually it's quiet. It's, older people tends to be, but I don't know. You guys. This just happened on a Monday lunchtime, and we've seen in the chat that there's been several other stabbings today in other parts of the country. And an acid attack, one commenter said earlier on. Now, they won't be related to this, but just saying that, when you think about it, we've got, how many million people are in the UK? 65 million people in the UK, maybe? Something like that. And crime never sleeps. Crime never sleeps. So, on that note, I'm going to go. And going to rewind the Ashley Benefield trial. I can hear. I can actually hear it. I got it on my iPad in the other room. I can hear it. What's the world coming to? I don't know. Yeah, an acid attack in Bath. I know someone who was a victim of an acid attack many years ago. My mother had a shop, and there was a jewelry store like in the basement. So these, like, my mother had the ground floor and the first floor, and in the basement of this building was the jewelry store, and it was this couple who had the jewelry store, and my mother had left, and then the jewelry people were about to leave, and waiting for them at the top of the steps was a couple of people who threw acid in their faces and barged into the shop and robbed a bunch of jewels from the shop. And my mother had just left. Like, my mother, she didn't say anything. She just left. But this person had obviously waited until the jewelry store were, you know, the people were on their own, and literally just threw acid in their faces and went in and robbed the place and was gone. I think they caught them. It's many, many years ago. I was only a teenager. I think they caught the people who did it. I think they did. I can't remember now. But that was in the 1980s. And yeah, crime never sleeps. All right, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you all for joining me. This I did say it was harrowing. I did say it was going to be a bad one. And how right was I? There's times when you just don't want to be right, do you? But anyway, thank you all. Thank you, mods. And I'll keep up with this story and bring you as many updates as it takes, either on my community wall or in videos. It depends how this goes, how many videos I do about it. But I'll keep up with this story. And if they do name the guy, like before I do my next video, I'll put it on my community and let you all know. But thank you for the donations earlier on in the stream. Welcome to all the new members. And yeah, I'm gone. Enjoy the rest of your day if you can. Bye, guys.